Welcome back, everyone, to R2Kast number 96. I know I've said it for about the last 3 episodes, but it's getting quite exciting how close we are to number 100. Last week, we had Thorfinn Armstrong. If you have a business, if you work in farming, he is your man. He could maybe free you up some money for research and development tax relief. He's had some folk that have found 100 grand a year and just running a normal farm business, carrying out normal farm practices they believed, but there was a way they could find out they were carrying out research and development, even if that was for themselves, and he was able to get quite a bit of cash for them each year. So that might even be something that our guest today can look into. Next week, I don't have a clue who's coming on. I'm not quite there yet. We were filming this about 5 weeks ago, so not quite at the stage of knowing who's coming for number 97, but I'm sure it'll be another good guest. Today, we've got certainly one of those accounts that I've been aware of on Facebook for a while and quite interested in. For those of you that follow me and have followed me for a while, knew that I've lost a fair chunk of weight. I think I put a post up about Christmas time that I'd lost a 25 kilo bag worth of weight. So that was quite a big thing. So I've quite got into nutrition, into fitness, and that's what today's episode's about. Rhys Jones, do you want to say hello?
How's it going? Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me as well. So excited to get to chat in.
Just before we get started with another episode of the R2Kast, I would like to thank our primary sponsors, A-Plan Rural. A-Plan Rural are heavily involved on the social media scene in the ag space with 120,000 followers on Instagram. They use this following to host social media takeovers with farmers throughout the country to showcase their stories. They also post to their rural community blog with further stories about these people in the industry. On top of this, they like to support initiatives that are championing the British agricultural industry, such as myself. So thank you to A-Plan Rural for that.
Yeah, you're not at all, man. Looking forward to it, and thank you for coming on. For those of you that don't recognise Rhys, he is Cattle Strength. Is it just Instagram, or are you other places, Rhys? Or are you?
No, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I've got a website. Yeah, that's about it then, to be honest.
Everywhere.
I'm dabbling with the idea of going on TikTok, but I keep pulling out. There's too much time. Social media, it's wrecks you, doesn't it? It takes so much commitment to stay on top of everything. So I think I'm going to leave that for a bit.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of Twitter, I must say.
Everyone's too many opinions. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, Instagram's good. I like Instagram. Just pictures, easy, no drama, a lot easier.
Yeah, I do. I'm the same, and I think on Instagram, there's very few fake accounts out there. You can't really hide behind a profile. Well, you can, but not many folk do. No. And you don't get all the rubbish nonsense that you get on certainly Twitter and Facebook.
You say that. I did a competition the other day, and I think it was like a Halloween competition or something. And I had about 10 messages of people telling me that they've claimed they won their prize. Like someone had set up a fake Cattle Strength account and then messaged these people to say they won the prize. And I had to go down the rabbit hole of trying to report them, block them. It was a nightmare, to be honest with you.
That's actually true. I did that once. I set up a prize. It was something like 700 quid's worth of stuff, and then suddenly 8 Rural to Kitchens appeared on Facebook, all with different spellings, and it was.
It's probably to be honest.
That's true. If you're sitting listening, guys, and you're not from the UK, we're probably two of the absolute extremes of the British accent here today. We've got quite the opposites, I think it'd be fair to say. Welsh accent, I must say, is one of my favourites. So it's a pleasure having you on to hear you speaking. It's always good fun to hear. Rhys, tell us about yourself. What was your sort of background? Were you on a farm? Was where's the cattle and Cattle Strength came from, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I don't really like talking about myself. I always feel a bit awkward.
It's going to be a long hour for you if you're doing a podcast.
Yeah. I grew up on a farm. I've always lived on a farm. It's just me. I've got a sister. It was always just me and my dad on the farm. We had one guy helping us. We're not a massive farm. We milk about 60, 70 cows. Always have, since I've known it, that sort of number. and we've got 500 sheep. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, to be honest. Sorry. After leaving school, so I decided I'd probably go into university and just study there for a while I pretty much make a decision of what I wanted to do. I always loved rugby. I ended up doing a degree in rugby coaching and performance.
Right, okay.
Just because I loved rugby. I played like at what I thought was a half decent standard. So I kind of like, like when you don't really want to go straight back to the farm after school, like a lot of my friends did it and I just feel like I wanted to do something. So I ended up going to university and doing that. Like I realized that I love coaching as well when I was in uni. I worked in loads of schools coaching like rugby and strength and conditioning in my third year. I just like grew to love that as well. So after I finished university, I was in two minds what I wanted to do. So I dabbled around for a bit, playing rugby and getting more and more into strength and conditioning, but also like on the weekends and whenever I had time, I was like helping out on the farm as well, like shearing and silage and all the big jobs. So then when I decided to move home then, back to the family farm to work full time on the farm, I kind of came up with the idea that I could actually make a business coaching people on the farm. Started out as well because where I lived, it would take me like an hour round trip to get to the gym, like the local gym where I like to train at. And I didn't really have the time or the energy to like justify driving an hour round trip to do an hour in the gym and come back. So I started converting like one of the sheds on the farm into a gym. So I just got a little squat rack and then, a kettlebell and like some bumper plates, and I slowly built up. I got a row machine. And at that point then, I kind of fell into it because the local asked me if I'd consider coaching him. So I just thought, yeah, brilliant. I'll start coaching him now and try and build up a bit of a business, personal training. That went really well. He got good results. And then his wife joined me, and then his friend joined me, and then his wife's friend joined me, and then his daughter joined me. And then all of a sudden, I had a client base of around 10 people. And so I thought then, this is going really well. And I was just doing it just in a bit of spare time in between farming. So that was about 7-8 years ago. And it's just slowly built and gone bigger. And I've started online training, and I work with people. Like I work with people in Scotland now and further afield sometimes. And I brought out a clothing line, and my wife's come on board in the business, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I've pretty much I have got to the point now where it's kind of been like farming or cattle strength. So most of my dad's 100% fully supportive of the business. Like he can see that it's going well, and the situation we're in with milking, if we wanted to carry on milking in the future, we'd have to invest a hefty amount of money for a business that's not really like, it's quite volatile, as you know, so I've kind of put my chips into cattle strength now. Yeah.
It's hard to make a proper living from 60, 70 dairy cattle, really, isn't it? I mean,
it's insane. It's just so stressful and like volatile. Yeah, my dad's like, I'm really lucky. He's really supportive. Like I know some people and have some friends that coming from like farming backgrounds like me whose fathers and like uncles and things like aren't as supportive. Do you know what I mean? And like, yeah. You don't like I've seen it like family feuds and things where like, like you shouldn't do anything else apart from farming. But I think in the day and age that we live in, I think like you almost have to diversify unless you're at that big scale,
Oh, I think absolutely, almost certainly. It's just like, I mean, we were speaking with Dorfin last week, and we were looking at diversification. I mean, we don't know what's coming subsidy wise. I mean, I heavily struggle to see how the UK are going to give us as much as the EU did. And if they can, I struggle to see that they see it as a priority. It's just not going to happen. So diversification's got to be the thing. And you're a prime example of that. I mean, I guess to sort of jump back a wee bit, though, Rhys, was your degree is quite specific. You don't get sports coaching development sort of thing was a thing that was at my uni, but specifically rugby, was that quite common for you?
Yeah, but to be honest, it was the first year, so it was like I did a foundation degree in rugby coaching and performance, and then I transitioned then in my third year to get a full degree in sports coaching and performance. So it kind of like changed as I went on, but it was very like rugby specific. We worked a lot with, like the Cardiff Blues and like the Welsh Rugby Union, and yeah, like my dissertation was like to do with rugby conditioning, and like it was very rugby conditioning based.
And was before you went to uni, was the plan? You said you played at a decent level. Was the plan to be a professional player?
Yeah, like probably looking back then, it was probably what I wanted to do. I played like 10 years semi-professionally. 5 of those years, I was probably like hoping to go pro. So I did a bit, with the Ospreys, like a few games for the Ospreys. Yeah, like it's probably one of the main reasons why I didn't move home anytime quicker, because like where I live, it's probably the same in Scotland. Like unless you live around where the regions are, you're not likely to get a chance. Like if you, for example, in Wales, if you live anywhere above mid Wales to north, it's changed a bit now, but if you live in like mid Wales, you got to move down to like Swansea, Llanelli, Cardiff. Like that's where the opportunities are to play rugby. That's where the best teams are. Like, so I had to move down like an hour and a half down south. So I was playing for Neath, which is right by like Swansea, Aberafon, and like those big teams, which there's no big teams where I live then.
Where is it you live?
I live in Aberafon. Do you know what that is?
Nah, I know like 2 places in Wales, Llangollen and Aberystwyth. That's all I've got.
Yeah, so I went to school in Aberystwyth.
Right, okay. What a gorgeous world. It takes longer to drive from the Welsh border to Aberystwyth than it does from Scotland to the Welsh border. I'm like, I'm in Wales, I'm basically here. And then it's like another 2.5 hours of windy roads.
Yeah,
it's worth it to get there.
Tractors everywhere, I know. Bloody farmers.
My ex went to uni in Aber, and I just thought it was a great place. I really liked it. Did
you have a few nights out in Aberystwyth?
Yeah, quite a few actually. Yeah, for sure. A question about rugby, because I totally go against the stereotype of the way I look, the size I am, and the country I'm from. I don't understand rugby. I don't know how it works. I've never played it. Watching the Six Nations with my mates in the pub. The only reason I'm there is for the pub, not the rugby. So, I'm very much a football fan, and very much know folk that get into football, even at the lower leagues, are done. I've got quite a good career from a monetary perspective. Is that a thing in rugby now? Or are people able to make a career out with being the absolute top names?
Yeah, they can. Like, it's not as good as it sounds, to be honest with you. I did a bit like with the Ospreys, nothing major, but like you realize quite soon that a lot of the boys playing, like they're not making as much money as they should, and it's a short career, and they're traveling all the time. They're away from their families. The risk of having an injury is like really high. Yeah, it's not as glamorous as people think. Do you know what I mean? I remember like when I was playing like semi-pro, you'd make about, say you make £5,000 a year playing rugby, and it sounds amazing, but like the traveling that you do, like you have no weekends left, like you're probably losing money. Do you know what I mean? You are losing money. But that was like obviously a bit less, but yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the disparity between football and rugby, which was probably the 2 sports we think of in this country, is mental. I mean, football's ridiculous, though, you could argue.
Man City signed a player. What's that player on? I don't even watch football, but like my clients are telling me today that there's a player from Man City who was on like $500,000 a week, is it?
Yeah, well, I think the highest paid player in the country is Kevin De Bruyne on 510, from what I understand. That's nuts, like, that is just insane. But yeah, it's just you do hear mental figures of folk signing, like going out to Saudi, and it was China and all that. And I think Ronaldo's on something like 0.8 million. Now I know he's Ronaldo, but still, that is still nuts. Like, he's 39 or 38 or whatever. But anyway, that was just a question about salaries, because I know it's a thing in rugby that it's difficult. And from what I understand, quite a lot of folk go to France because their retirement policy is slightly different or something like that. But yeah, just an interesting question to go down. So had you come home and the sort of the I guess the PT side hadn't came around, would you still be farming full time?
Yeah, I think I would. I've always got like, I think I really do enjoy like the business side of things. Like I've always kind of looked for things. I've always been this way. Like I've always looked for things that that could probably do well if I did that, and I always go down like rabbit holes of ideas. I've got like a notes app on my phone. You know what I mean? Like just little ideas. So I probably would be like dabbling in something else as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I get that.
I'm quite lucky I found something I'm passionate about that I can do well. What started out as a side hustle into like a full-time business, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what do you offer then? What do you offer? If someone was to come onto the Cattle Strength page and think, I want a chat with Rhys, what sort of thing could they get?
So if you lived locally, you could get small group or one-to-one personal training sessions with me. I've actually got like two members of staff working with me now, one girl and one guy.
Right.
They're great. So either with me or another coach, and or alternatively, you can get coached with me online. So I offer like one-to-one bespoke training plans for people, like yourself, that wants to just get fit, get strong, whatever your goals may be. Basically, I build a plan based around your goals, your circumstances, your experience and injuries, etc. Or I've got a couple of generic plans as well, which I started during COVID. And then my wife Katie runs. We've got like a clothing line now as well, which is going quite well. We're just trying to like build the brand and try and just build Cattle Strength up really as a brand. So it's not just personal training; it's more of a fitness, farm fitness brand, and trying to be niche in that little area, little market. Then
I would just like to quickly interrupt the show for a minute to give you some extra information on our primary sponsors, A-Plan Rural. A-Plan offer bespoke cover for farms and estates the UK over, and will give you tailored insurance for anything on the farm, from your old workhorse tractor that's been around 20 years or a fancy new and exciting diversification.
The next challenge for Gymshark. You never know, man. You never know.
Yeah, I really like his story is amazing. Like I watched a documentary about him the other day, and like he started off in his uni halls, like and I think he had like another 6 businesses on the go at the same time, and like Gymshark was just the one that like went well, and he like grew from there. Like I really like, he's quite an inspiring guy, to be fair.
Ben Francis.
That's it. I think he's just won like an MBE or something, is he? Like,
yeah, he was the youngest ever British billionaire.
Yeah, insane. Like his story's insane.
Yeah. And he nuts. Yeah.
Like he basically does what I'm trying to do at clean off level, like the highest level you can be. Well,
I mean, that grew. Maybe this isn't what you want to talk about the competition, but I mean, it grew. I mean, I would remember probably being in high school. I'm 26, being in high school, and Gymshark was a name that came around. What the fuck's Gymshark? That's what you're sort of thinking, and then suddenly, man, it's like this insane thing. Like no one goes. I'm just back from the gym, and I would say there's 25 folk there, and I'm the only one that's not wearing it. It's insane.
Like, nothing against the brand. Like I really like it, but like you almost like don't want to wear it because everyone else is wearing it. Like like you don't be that guy. It's bananas, isn't it? Like I think he just had he did things like a little bit differently to everyone else. Like like social media now. Like he's got all these influencers that he just like I'm on a small scale. Like I've got like a couple of like influencers in like the social media industry where I might send like a free hoodie or a free pair of leggings to. Like for example, Lauren, like the independent country girl, she kind of works with us, and she puts a few pictures up a month for us. Like, and she just does it because she's like a friend of ours now. But like it works so well. Like her followers see that she supports Cattle Strength, and we get a big return on it, and like it works well for everyone. But Gymshark did that way back when, and they had like the the most in shape men and women, and like with the biggest following, and they did it before anyone else did, I think, and it just worked really well for them.
Is that important to you? Because that's a really interesting question about the sort of in shape part. I mean, he's came out and said himself, like, he wants his models to look perfect. Like, he's said that. I think that's maybe changed over the time. You know, I think that's not the case now. You see, you know, quite a lot of YouTubers or influencers that have had a sort of fitness arc, and they don't look perfect, but they look amazing compared to what they did. Is that something that would be important for you if you got to that stage of sort of like...
Not at all. Not at all. Like, I'm not, can't strength like that at all. Like if you look at me, like, I'm a good example. Like, I'm proving that. Like, I'm nearly 18 stone. Like, I'm a rugby player. Like, I haven't got a low body fat percentage. It's all about just trying to like constantly improve, get stronger, move better, perform better, have better energy, like eat better, just trying to improve your quality of life and find something you enjoy. Like, I'm not about that aesthetic, standing on stage, you know, like just see who's got the best physique. I'm not judging anyone who does it. It's just not what Kata Strength is about. The Kata Strength is more of a performance-based gym and a community, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Community is a big part. Community is a massive part. I mean, like, I'm very much speaking from a not over, what would you say? Someone that doesn't know much about this. I've only been in fitness, speaking to people in fitness for a few months, and I'm playing it down. It's more than 4 months. About 8 months I've been this way, but I was always nervous to ask folks stuff. I've always understood nutrition and that sort of thing, and I've always watched Ronnie Coleman, like number of people, you know, I love that stuff, you know, but I never did it, and I sort of had quite a good knowledge base, but I was scared to ask folk in the gym and stuff. And then one day I was like, oh, screw this, man, I'm going to ask this guy. And this guy, Jay, who's just started up doing something, you know, similar to yourself up here on a smaller basis, like, he just chatted to me for days, and so many folk do, and I love that about it.
Yeah.
And you'll be creating that yourself, because you'll be creating that hub that all sort of goes through you or your other two there, which is great. One thing I guess brings to mind is you mentioned you make bespoke plans. This is one thing that's always blown my mind about PTs and people in your position, because when you're looking at it from an injury perspective, that's quite you don't want to get that wrong. You know, do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. You say it's a bespoke plan, it's for that new person, of course. But do you go out and learn about cartilage injuries in knees or dislocated shoulders previously and all that? Or how do you learn that stuff?
Yeah, to be honest with you, when it comes to like injuries and clinical stuff, I always try and refer to specialists. So like, I've got like a few of my clients, like I've got a few rugby players, etc., that I train, who are coming back from rehab, injuries like ACL injuries, things. I always try and like speak to the physiotherapists or GPs and get their advice first. And I kind of like build a plan based off what they say. I'm not educated enough or it's not my speciality to know exactly what that individual needs. I base a plan around what those experts will say. Like in the past, when I was like maybe starting off, I thought I was educated enough to do it, but you're not. Like, it's the same thing with nutrition. Like, I'll give advice and I'll help with guidance, but I'm not. If you want to call yourself a nutritionist, you're looking at 3-4 years uni degree to be a professional nutritionist. I'm a personal trainer and strength and conditioning coach. You know, like, so I'll offer guidance, but if someone's got like a clinical nutritional issues like that needs like specialist guidance, I'll try and refer them and take advice off what that specialist recommends me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's
I think
same on the farm. Like we've got a nutritionist to tell us like about our feed. We don't ask the vet. The vet specializes in something else, and the nutritionist tells us. It's the same thing.
It's exactly the same, and your answer is kind of what I was hoping for, because I've seen a few folk on social media saying they offer, you know, nutrition advice, they offer advice for post-injury, they offer whatever, and I'm like, shit, that's a big thing. Like, you know, you've got to make sure you're getting that right. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
There's a lot of people on social media like that aren't qualified, and they've just like they might be like in shape themselves, or they've got like a nice bum or something, and
Yeah, for sure.
they can do a 3-week course and call themselves a PT, and they'll do like a photo shoot of themselves, and then they give in like Helen down the road advice. You know, she's had 3 kids, and you know, she's got like dietary requirements and special. You know, you can't do it. It pisses me off a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And that is, you probably just mentioned a really big thing. Like, life commitments is a thing you have to plan this around. I mean, everyone wants to be healthy. They want to be fit. They want to look good. But here, you've got kids, you've got work. You can't afford to just do it all. You know, so that's another thing I'd probably never considered from your perspective. Is that true? Is it just a 3-week course to be a PT? Is that?
I think you can do like a condensed version. I think you can knock it out in 2 weeks. If you like, with some providers, I think you can knock it out in 2 weeks. Like, it's not hard, to be honest with you. Like, you learn 1,000 times more working with people on the job than you would on a 2-week course. And like, I learned 1,000 times more doing my degree than I did doing my PT course. But for insurance purposes, you need that 2-week course to be qualified as a PT, which, I don't know, I think the system's a bit wrong. I was really lucky. I did mine with like really good providers, like the Professional Fitness Association. I don't know if you follow the Match On Gym in London. They're really good providers, but there's a lot of bad ones out there.
What was that, Match On?
Yeah, Match On Fitness. They do they like the PFCA. They've got like their own a coach educator system, basically, where they work with their coaches.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of like crap providers out there, same as everything else. Like, you could, yeah. I'm not a big fan of the PT courses, to be honest. And there's a lot of things that you learn. Yeah, they are great to learn, but you wouldn't. It was working as a personal trainer. There's a lot better. It's like when you're in school, you know, like they don't teach you how to deal with taxes, but you know how to like pinpoint what part of a leaf is.
Do you know what? You're so right. I mean, like, this thing I mentioned already. Last week we spoke with that guy Thorfinn Armstrong, and he's talking about tax relief and all this stuff. And you know, I wouldn't think I'm an idiot, but it was so much stuff that he was going over. I was like, man, this has been so simple if I'd learned this 10 years ago. You know, like what, like you say, yeah. I mean, but I know Pythagoras.
Yeah,
you know, you're absolutely right. I'm not saying learning Pythagoras and whatever is not important, because Pythagoras is actually probably the important one, not trigonometry, but like having that sort of information should be there. But yeah, that's the way it is. You mentioned you started, was it about 8 years ago, you said, is that right?
Yeah, probably about 8 years. To be honest with you, I haven't kept track. It's been time goes so fast. Like, we've got 3 kids under 3, and the last 3 years have just gone like that with us. And like time, so it probably is about 8 years ago now. Yeah, that I started like on a small scale, and it's just like gradually built. Like, I used to milk in the morning and maybe coach one PT session after milking, and then I'd do another one in the night, and that was it for like a year. And then I gradually added one, and I got to a point where I was working like 8 hours on the farm, and then another, oh God, I don't even know, like a lot, like another 6 hours PT'ing. Like, it was a long day. Like, every day was about a 14-hour day. And then I got to the point where I was just turning people away, and I started online training, and then I was able to work with more people. But then again, time was just against me, and then I ended up just making that choice then. So now, like, the gym's fully booked with me now. I can't fit more people in again. So we're expanding this year now. We've just had planning through, and we're just waiting for the weather to dry up, really, and we're going to build like a much bigger space and facility.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I always think people here, we started doing online training, that's just basically free money for you, but there's just as much work for that. You know,
yeah. Oh, honestly, like that's probably like the hardest work because you're always on your phone. Like if I show you my phone now, like to see now, like the notifications you get coming through.
Yeah.
It's just like, and they're all like online training, like clients, like, so you constantly gotta, if you're not there providing that accountability and support, then you're not really coaching. So like, you have to try and like just balance everything out. So I try to allocate that time between like being a coach and being like a husband and a father. That's the toughest balance, but it's
and having 3 under 3, you must be busy. You must be busy currently. That sounded rude. You must be busy now. That's what I meant.
Yeah, we've been busy and it's busy now.
That's what I realised that sounded like.
It's bonkers, but like I wouldn't change it. But it's so my wife. I don't know how my wife does it. My wife stays at home with them more or less every day, and she also manages to somehow do the cattle strength kit and somehow manage to like she does. Like I don't finish work till late, so I'm quite lucky. She has supper ready for me. I'm not an old fashioned man. My wife cooks, but I'm blessed that my wife, when I come home, she has supper ready like when I come home, and she's it's hard, but it's hard for everyone, isn't it? Everyone's got
mums are quite something. They're quite. Not that I'm saying dads aren't at all.
No, but like they are impressive.
So I guess it's quite an important question. You don't have to answer exactly, but how many clients do you have?
Joe, I get asked this a lot, and I don't really count them because
talking like 30, or are we talking like?
I think that in coming to the gym currently, there's about 130.
Wow!
And then online, there's probably another 100, maybe. I'd say.
And is that just split between the 3 of you?
That's probably mostly me, because at the minute, like my gym's not big enough to like offer like full-time work to any of like my coaches. So I've got a girl called Shaky that coaches in the nights for me. She only coaches like an hour a day, 2 hours a day. And then I've got a guy called Owen then who coaches on Saturday, and he coaches like a full day on a Saturday for me. But that's, apart from that, then it's me, mostly me, and a lot of my clients, because they can't get a second session, they might come to them as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So close to, like, that's not a bang on figure. That's just a educated guess, to be honest.
Yeah, but here it's a fair chunk, no matter how you look at that,
Yeah, it's quite busy. But then of those online clients, they're not all on a bespoke plan. Like a lot of them are doing like a generic plan that I only write one plan and they'll get that plan then, if that makes sense.
So do you have like I'm guessing here, like a generic male plan for this age, a generic female plan for this age, and then you can sort of choose as to how bespoke you want, if you will?
Regarding like meal plans, I tend to just work out more nutritional targets for my clients based on their goals. So like I work with like a lot of demographic, like a similar demographic of, for example, like women between the ages of 30 and 50 that want to lose weight. They don't have time to go to the gym more than 3 times a week because they're busy, they work, and their parents. So the big focus with me is just make sure that we focus on being in like a small caloric deficit. We make sure that we hit our protein targets every day, and we make sure that we focus on hitting like a good step count every day. If you do those 3 things, like a lot of things will fall into place naturally. I don't really like restrict people down to a meal plan that you're only allowed to eat this meal, that meal, that meal. I just don't really agree with it. I find it unsustainable and boring, and I wouldn't want to do it, and I wouldn't want to stick to it. So, but obviously they do work. They're just like a very strict approach that I don't tend to use a lot of.
The calorie deficit one, you put a post up. I'd said to you off camera that you'd help me with a couple of things. You commented back. I knew you wouldn't remember because I know you get loads of comments, but one of the ones that made so much sense to me was, you're chasing this calorific deficit, which you find yourself like doing grand Monday through Saturday or something, and then you're rubbish on Sunday or whatever. But I like the way you put it, sort of looking at it on a weekly basis, because it's the exact same, and that makes so much more sense. And like you're not like beating yourself up for that one day that's bad that doesn't matter, because you're still on a calorific deficit for that 7 days. I think that's so useful.
It's like kind of like saving money. Like if you're trying to save money, you're trying to get that brand new car, and that car costs a bit of money, and you want to get a bit of money together. If you're really good with your money, like throughout the week, but you've overspent, like on Friday and Saturday, you've spent loads of money, you've gone out on the piss, and you've spent a lot of money, you've got to be quite tight with your money then the following few days to try and make up for that, so your bank like doesn't have a hammer in. It's exactly the same with calories. If you overspend, so overconsume your calories on that day that you go out on Saturday night or Sunday, you've just got to be a bit tighter around that. As long as your weekly total is the same, you'll be fine. It's just it's cycling your calories. So like for some people, they might want to eat more on the days that they train, so they've got that more energy. Some people might want to eat more on the weekends because they enjoy having that extra social life. Some women who like struggle around the menstrual cycle to like be in a deficit might want to eat more during that week. As long as you're like your weekly totals or your monthly totals are like it's quite similar, you're going to be fine. And you don't have to get it right 100% of the time. If you get it right 80% of the time, you're making progress. And the goal should be like with me, like to eat as much as possible and still lose weight. So yeah, I'm very like pro sustainable approach and just being what's the word? Patient and consistent.
Yeah, like enjoying the process more than strictly aiming for a defined outcome. Yeah.
100%. And then if you have to do something you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, then you're not going to stick to it. So if you enjoy rock climbing, but you hate going to the gym and you hate running, don't run, don't go to the gym, go rock climbing. Like just make sure that you eat well and like move a lot.
Well, that's funnily enough another thing you said, because I was like, I'm going gym. I think I was going something like 8 times a week at that point. Over the summer, I'm not teaching, so I'm off. And then I was like, but I don't fully enjoy this. I enjoy going lifting some heavy weights 3 or 4 times a week, but I absolutely love walking. So I just walk all the time.
That's honestly so much better. Like stick to that. Like lift weights, heavy weights 3 times a week. You need that recovery time anyway, because you're gonna like you need to like make sure your muscles repair and you're getting stronger, and then walk a lot.
And I've got a question. I've been looking into, oh God, I can't remember all the fancy words. Something like heat thermogenesis, but I can't remember the exact thing. Is it true that when you lift weights, like over the course of the period after that, say 12 hours, you'll still be burning calories from the sort of, what would you call it? Not the recreation of the muscles, but the sort of muscles building back. Is that a thing? Or is that not actually true?
It's slightly true. Like there's science behind it. The more muscle you have in your body, the more calories your body will burn at resting. So say if you manage to gain 2 kilos of muscle like over the next 6 months, then your body is gonna you're pretty much speed your metabolism up. Your body's gonna burn more calories actually. So like, and the same thing with eating protein. Like your body uses more energy to digest protein than it does to digest carbohydrates and fat. So it's more of a thermogenic food, if that makes sense. So having a high protein diet and doing a lot of resistance training to focus on building muscle and getting stronger can massively help with fat loss in that sense.
Yeah, it's so interesting, man. There's so much to nutrition. It's a thing that never interested me at all, but it's there's a lot of interesting stuff there, and it's cool seeing folk like yourself. So you give us wee tidbits here and there to try and tempt us in, because it's useful. Folk like yourself's brilliant. What will the expansion bring? Will that bring more clients or not straight away?
Like I told you, like I said, we've got 130 members now, and we turn people away all the time, and it's really frustrating. But we'd like to get to about 200. I think I'm not really about I know a few gym owners locally who all they're focused on is having a lot of members. And I'm not really about that. I'd rather just have the best community, the best coaching, the best quality. So I'd rather have 200 members than, well, honestly, like 400 members. But they probably pay more than those 200 members. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all about quality. And then I'm just going to be able to like offer a lot more. I don't really want to give too much away because I kind of want to, but like it's going to enable a lot of my clients to be able to come every day if they wanted to the gym. I mean, they're not going to be limited to like one session a week, 2 sessions a week. I'm going to be able to offer a lot more services. It's the best thing about it for me is it's going to enable me to bring my wife into the business, and it's going to future-proof the business for me. So I'm not just trading like hours for coaching for the rest of my life. I'm actually building something that, you know, that we'll be able to, and then my kids then will be something that hopefully they might want to, you know, be a part of when they're older. My son has Down syndrome, Harry, and I really want to like make it an inclusive place where like someone like Harry could like work himself and like be able to like work with just all inclusiveness. That's not the right word, but like everyone and like have that community aspect and things like that are really important to me. So that's the main focus with me, really. It's not about having that certain number. It's about having that standard and that like something authentic and different in the area. And it's going to also allow me, to like incorporate more of the farm as well. So I'm going to be able to do like a proper farm fitness class, which I'm unable to do at the minute because my gym's so small. And that's I really want to do that. I want to have that like farm fitness, like boot camp vibe, you know, like outdoor training area. I can't wait for that. And I want to get like a drone flying over, like showing my sessions.
Amazing. I'm
blessed as well. I've got like, 2 amazing coaches, but one of the coaches, like he's the fittest man in Wales. Yeah, like he's actually literally the fittest man in Wales, and he's hopefully going to be on board. Like, yeah, I'm blessed. Like I've got good people around me, so I'm very excited.
That's amazing. And I liked your point about Harry. Harry, did you say?
Harry, yeah, my son Harry.
Yeah. Here, the world's strongest man's autistic. You know, a gym should be an inclusive place. Great thing for folk to focus on, man. So I love to hear that. Have you ever been involved in Britain's Fittest Farmer?
Do you know what? I entered it. I entered it 3 years ago, and that was the year we had Harry, and it was just like that year was just a bit of a whirlwind of a year for us, to be honest. And I ended up just not doing it. That's the year I stopped playing rugby as well, and I kind of just like I kind of like just had a bit of a quiet time, really, where I just like lost focus and just transitioned all my focus to just family.
Family's what matters when it's the start, isn't it, man? It's got to be.
But it's something I'd love to do. It annoys me a bit though, because like all the qualifiers are in England. Like there's nothing in Wales. There's nothing in Scotland. Like I'm almost tempted to do one myself in Wales and like, do you know what I mean? And Scotland. Like,
always the way, isn't it? It's always the way, man. It's always the way.
I'm tempted.
Maybe you could be the location for the qualifier.
Yeah, just like do like a pairs competition. Like it doesn't have to be that one. I might do another one myself. We'll see.
Yeah. Why not, man? Why not? No, it's quite entertaining to watch. In fairness, one of my mates was second once. You probably know. Oh, you know Cammy. I know you know Cammy. Wilson. I think you do. I think I've seen you always. Do you know him? No?
I don't know. I probably do. Like
the sheep game guy.
Oh yeah.
He was second 1 year. Was that had been that year actually? I think the year I think it was. No, it's quite a cool idea that it's. I would be pretty decent at the weight side. I would be shocking at the other side.
I'm more of a coach, and you could do as I say more than I do, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a couple of big, like some of the girls that train in cattle strength, though, like they'd give it a good go, I'm sure. Like we've got some like proper athletes training in cat strength at the minute. So I wouldn't mind them giving it a go. Maybe I could sponsor them.
I hope you've kicked your feet up and got comfy and enjoying another fantastic episode of the R2Kast with another really interesting guest. I would just like to quickly take another second to plug the sponsors of the show today, the Scottish Farmer, and I would strongly advise you to go out and pick one up this week and see even more of the fantastic people that are in our industry.
It's an absolute pleasure to watch, man. Like, I mean, some folk like one of my exes does CrossFit, and watching her do it was like insane. I'm like, I thought I was strong, and then I see you doing this. What is happening? You know, it's quite a joy to watch someone that's just brilliant at, well, I guess, a craft at that stage. One thing I wanted to ask you. Sorry, Rhys, on you go.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, I love CrossFit. You know, you were saying earlier about that aesthetic PT thing where like it's all about looking perfect. CrossFit's like not about that at all. Like, it's all about performance, like performing to your best. Like, that's one of the reasons why I love CrossFit. And my gym's quite a CrossFit gym, to be honest with you. Like, CrossFit style training, we're not affiliated at the minute, but it's got a CrossFit vibe. Do you know what I mean?
They are the second part of that word. They are fit. Like, it's
clean off. Like if you look at just using like Matt Fraser as an example, he won it like 5 years in a row. Like, if you saw him, he obviously he looks like insane, but he doesn't look like.
No, he doesn't look insane though. Yeah.
But what he can do, like, I think it's amazing. That's definitely like with my kids now. Like, I'd rather them be inspired to be like that as opposed to be inspired to just look malnourished on a beach but look good on stage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Your strength's in you sexy. that's what your folks say, man. But it's you know, it's the person that always blows me away is, I always get her surname wrong. I think it's Danny Spiegel.
Yeah, she's insane,
man. Like, she is built like a brick shithouse and she can run like nothing else. It's mental. Like, I don't know if she's won the CrossFit Games. I know, like, it's been Tia Claire Toomey's kind of just owned it for the past 6 or whatever years it is, but she's mental, man. She's absolutely insane to watch. What's that? Sorry?
She's winning most of the strength events, just out and out strength events. Like, I think there was a sandbag to shoulder event last year, and she was the only one that lifted the heaviest bag. I can't remember what the weight was, but
that's right. And did she not also go 2 more? She just almost did it for show. She didn't need to continue.
Just for crack. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Nah, nuts. Like, and if you're sitting listening, you have no idea who Danny Spiegel is. I'm saying it right, I think. Either go look her up, or if you've been on TikTok and you've seen a person, female, who just looks insanely strong running around, that's probably who it is. Freaking nature, man. It's so cool. One thing I wanted to ask you about, Rhys, I thought was brilliant, was you had a pretty massive spread in the Farmer's Guardian. How did that come about? I think it was the Farmer's Guardian. Was it Farmer's Guardian?
Yeah.
That was brilliant. It was like 4 pages or something.
It was just a connection. Yeah, like, massive thank you to the Farmer's Guardian for that. Like, it was awesome. Like, it was just really like epic just to speak about, like, not only the gym but like spread awareness of Down syndrome and like raise awareness about that and just the family and our story. So yeah, we really appreciate that. We just like I've made a connection with a girl called Lucy Baxter who works for the Farmer's Guardian. And she's just really nice, and she just liked our story, and she name forward to be a part, and yeah, they offered us that. It's just like on a whim, like Lucy Baxter basically. So Lucy, if you're listening, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lucy. Excellent. No, it was a brilliant spread. Like it. I don't know where I saw it. I don't know if it was you that posted it or someone else had. I seem to remember seeing it on Instagram and actually got the Farmer's Guardian that week, and it was a good one. It's probably where
it was surreal. I had no idea it was going to be 4 pages. I just thought it was just a little spread. But they went to town and they really like spoke about Harry, and like they made a point of like bringing that across. So it was really, really nice, and like I'm very like grateful for that.
So is Harry the eldest?
Yeah, High Street, and there's another 2 afterwards. But yeah, it's like a big part of like my business. I do try and like raise awareness as much as possible. It was National Down Syndrome Awareness Day last Wednesday, and like we didn't put anything up about training, or we just spoke about Down syndrome and like the facts about Down syndrome. Like we posted a reel. Like my wife Katie posted a reel, and it had something like 1,200 likes and clean off comments and like so many shares. And like we really noticed like where we live, like so many people know more about Down syndrome, and Harry is like quite well known in the area now because people in my area follow Cattle Strength, and it's just like amazing. People like really get behind and like want to know Harry and like want to know more about Down syndrome. But like the more we can like raise awareness about Down syndrome, the better. Like can't get my words out. The better inclusion we're going to have for that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's just something I'm passionate about. And like I've got like the 3 arrows like in my branding with Cattle Strength, which is like to do with Down syndrome, and like those 3 arrows there. And
is that what that is?
Yeah, I've got it on the picker. I've got it on like on my clothing, like the Cattle Strength t-shirts and things have the 3 arrows on it, and that's what that means.
Right. Okay. See, is that like a charity, or is that what that means?
Nah, like Down syndrome is like trisomy 21. So
yeah.
So like the 3 arrows represent the 3 trisomies, and like the actual arrow represents like keep moving forward. And it kind of just looks cool as well. It goes with the Cattle Strength branding. So like we stuck it on there so people know like what it means and like why it's important, if that makes sense.
That's so clever, because I always remembered that it was a trisomy in the 21st pair. That's really clever. Like, that's nice. You know that you're using this platform and using this business as well to just raise awareness. That's brilliant. Was it, out of interest, was it something you were very aware of before Harry?
No, we had no idea.
No.
Like, when Harry was born, I had no idea about Down syndrome. Like I didn't even like give it a second thought. Like we had, I don't know what it's like in Scotland, but in Wales, they kind of just they'll measure the fluid in the back of the neck with a scan, and they'll just give you like a percentage chance of having like it measures for 3 things. One's Down syndrome, and there's another 2, and I can't remember what they're called. I should. And we were, I think, 1 in 20,000, which is extremely low.
Yeah.
So we didn't think anything of it. When Harry was born, we went through a bit of a tough time because we didn't really have a chance to enjoy Harry because we had a bit of a negative experience in the hospital where he was kind of just taken from us straight away, and they just said that it's bad news and they suspect there's something wrong and didn't really tell us more. And then when we found out Harry had Down syndrome 2 weeks later, the doctor that we spoke to literally said to us, it's very bad news. I'm sorry to tell you this, and just really negative about the whole thing. And it was just really hard to deal with. And like looking back, I can't believe how that went about, because it's not a bad thing. Like Harry's amazing, and like you know what I mean. The wording that some of the people used, we find out like it was a massive shock to us to deal with initially, and like just learning about Down syndrome and things like that. But like as we go on, and we've kind of learned through social media. Social media has been amazing because we've been able to like look at other families with children with Down syndrome. I remember the first video I watched, there was a child with Down syndrome skiing in the Alps. He was like 5 years old, and I remember thinking like, I used to paint a picture in my head of like when I think of Down syndrome as like a young adult who's about 20 years old walking with his mum. I know it like badly dressed in a supermarket, not speaking to anyone. Whereas the reality of it is, you know, a kid with Down syndrome is just in an Ironman. Another kid with Down syndrome has just won an Oscar. Another, like the 5-year-old is skiing on the, like we paint a perspective in our head of like what people's abilities are. And I want to try and like change that and, like try to spread awareness that what people with Down syndrome can do. Does that make sense?
But when you've got a medical professional painting that as like, the words you were saying there, you might be thinking like, oh my God, is our child healthy? Or, like that. That's a horrible way to put that. And that's going to knock you and your partner back no matter what, you know.
Yeah.
When in truth, you know, like you're saying, Harry's a happy, great young lad. Yeah, like as is normally the case. Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane. Yeah. But there's a massive push at the minute to like change like wording and things like that. Like, you know, that test I told you about with the fluid.
Amniocentesis, it's called.
That's it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Like I think they used to word it as you'd have a 1 in 10 risk of having a child with Down syndrome, whereas now they've changed it to a 1 in 10 chance of having a child with Down syndrome. Things like that, and like just not being doom and gloom and telling people like we're sorry, like it was bad news. Do you know what I mean? I read a book called "Don't Be Sorry" with a girl called Sarah Roberts. She's like got quite a big social media following, and like it's all about just changing people's perspectives. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I'm trying to do at a small scale.
Now, I know Down syndrome isn't a neuro thing, but it sort of encompasses it in some way from what I'm about to say. I think the best thing that happened to people with what was known as mental disabilities is it becoming called neurodiversity, because it's so true. I mean, like autism, Down syndrome, they're not at all the same, but you know, they're things that before were seen as a disability, whatever. I think that idea of diversity, and there's another ability there. It's not the same. It's so important. It's so important. So yeah, no. First off, I appreciate you saying that stuff. It's big. But yeah, not a nice experience.
There's definitely like a big positive movement now. Like you see it. Like we've just been to the cinema now to watch. There's a film called Champions out in the cinema, and it's just a cast full of young adults with additional needs, and it's class.
Right.
Yeah, like we watched that last week, funny enough. Like, you mean, it's just brilliant to see. Whereas I can't remember when I was growing up anything like that being on telly. I might have been naive, like didn't notice, but
I don't think there was.
Nah.
I was. I mean, here, what's one of the biggest films of the last decade? The Greatest Showman, which was basically based on a true story of the fact entertainment was based on exploiting people in this position. Like, that was only 100 years ago. You know, like it's I wouldn't be surprised if when you were younger, and I don't even think when I was younger, it was a thing. I think it's brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
I was sorry, I was just saying, like, I was one of those people before having Harry, I had no idea of anything about it. So, like, I kind of, like, pinch myself a little bit. I feel bad that I should have. So, like, I try and help now to try and raise awareness.
I don't strictly think you should have. I think the case is that awareness wasn't there, and you're part of that movement that's creating it. You know, that's worthwhile. Yeah. Did you have anyone with Down syndrome in your class at school or your school or anything like that, or no?
Nah, I worked. No. I worked as a teaching assistant in a school for about 6 months, and I actually worked with a child with Down syndrome there. But that's the only experience that I had, to be honest with you. Yeah. It was only like briefly, not full time. Do you mean?
No, like for sure, yeah. No, it's it's been great to chat. We've got into various things I did not expect, Rhys. Some really interesting, deep conversations there. It was good to chat. And as I say to everyone, time sort of flies by. You might not believe it, but we've been speaking for an hour. It does sort of disappear. I'm conscious you have 3 wee ones under 3, and don't want to take too much of your time. But thank you for coming on. First off, appreciate busy lots of time of night, and telling us the story about cattle strength, and then also just about life in general. But the 2 questions I have for everyone at the end of the podcast is 1, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and 2, if you had any tips for folk getting into it, and feel free to talk about personal training. What would they be?
5 years, I'm definitely still going to be working with cattle strength. I'm hoping the gym will be up by then. I just want to continue to grow the brand, you know, set something up for the future, like just be authentic. That's big for me. And like, just family is important as well. I want to really focus on my family and grow. That's the big focuses that I have in 5 years. And then any advice to people.
Do you mean 8 kids under 8? Is that what you mean?
Definitely not. No,
No.
100% no. There will be no more kids. And then any advice to people getting into it, I would just first and foremost just find something you enjoy. If you're not going to enjoy it, you're not going to stick to it. That's the main thing. Don't put too much emphasis on going to the gym. Like being active, walking, not sitting on your bum is going to have a way bigger influence on your health than doing a 40-minute spin class in the gym 3 times a week. Well, you know, if you can get 10, 15, even 20,000 steps a day, walk to the shop instead of drive, just make better choices in the kitchen. Those things are, in my opinion, the most important things. And then regarding the gym, just try and focus on like improving your health. So getting stronger, moving better, getting a bit faster, getting a bit fitter. It's not about getting an 8-pack and looking malnourished on a beach.
That's a really good point. Really good point. When you said I don't actually track steps at all, I just checked. Last 3 days have been 33, 28 and 24,000.
Wow.
But I'm a bit of a weird one because I don't sleep. I sleep for like 2 or 3 hours. So I'll probably go a half marathon walk after this. Like, so I'll be a bit weird in that sense. But I don't have the kids to look after. So I've got it a wee bit simpler in that sense. But no, man, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. It's been a great chat. Nice to meet you finally.
Likewise.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you listening, Rhys and I have tried to arrange this. We must have done 85 different dates, man. Even 10 minutes before kicking this off, we changed the date twice. But no, glad we've got it done. Appreciate your time. For those of you listening, hope you've enjoyed. As always, if you're looking, I don't know if you'll have any space, but if you're looking for a PT, check out Cattle Strength. Might be able to take you on online, or if you are in the area. For next week, as I've said, I don't know what's coming, don't know who we've got. I've got a few folk lined up. I think it might be Ant Thomas, who is known as Keeping Cows Moving. He's a hoof trimmer down in Cornwall. We originally got in touch because I had Sophie Mitchell-Smith on R2Kast number 86, the female hoof trimmer, who had got in touch with Ant and said, I have found your doppelganger, as Wallace Curry. Get in touch with him. So, I thought I've got to get this guy on the podcast. So that'll probably be who it is. After that, what's that? 2 more episodes and then number 100. I'm not telling you who or what is coming on. I don't know why I said what. It's not a thing. It's not a person. It's still a person. I did actually tell Rhys off camera, but I won't be saying it to you guys yet. All I'm saying, the only clue I'm giving you is you have seen them on the podcast before. So it should be quite a good episode there. Thank you as always for listening. Rhys, thank you for coming along. Hope you had a good time.
Thank you very much. Continue the great work. You're doing great.
Thanks, man.
See you soon.
You too. You too, man. You too. And yeah, we'll catch us later on and see you for next week. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
I hope you've enjoyed another excellent episode of the R2Kast. I just want to take this moment to quickly thank our primary sponsors once more, A-Plan Rural. If you follow A-Plan on social media, you'll see the work they're doing to really promote British farming and back our industry. It's been a pleasure working alongside A-Plan Rural so far, and long may it continue. The values of A-Plan Rural runs perfectly in line with the whole mantra of rural to kitchen, and I'm glad to have them on board. Check them out on Instagram at A-Plan Rural and on Facebook at A-Plan Rural Insurance. See you for the next podcast.